I'd like to introduce to you Lei Fa, or Thunder Rites, a modality of Chinese ceremonial magic dating back to 900 AD that encompasses many facets of craft, from healing sickness and exorcising demonic possession to weather magic and petitioning nature gods. Lei Fa is a form of Chinese medieval magic that gets translated into English as thunder magic or thunder rites. I like to use the term rites over magic personally because it conveys an important point about the craft. Lei Fa is heavily ritualistic. Oh, by the way, the Chinese characters you see on screen there, that's how you write thunder magic or thunder rites in traditional Chinese. Here's how it looks in Chinese oracle bone script, which basically is ancient Chinese writing. There's typically a lot of ceremonial bells and whistles involved. This is how you pace through the Big Dipper or Luosu magic square during ritual. This is how you do hand mudras. This is how you use the bakwa, what you gotta wear, how you gotta speak, astrology, alchemy, numerology, meditation, summonings, petitions, mantras, scriptures, blah, blah, and blah. Lei Fa is really not for the lazy witch, but it's pretty badass. So if you endure the often strenuous cultivation process, you'll find that it's not just about craft, but life. It really fortifies you with the powers to conquer life's challenges.
It would probably be remiss of me to not mention that most adherents of Lei Fa consider it a lifestyle. You don't dabble in Lei Fa, according to them. I'm going to be controversial here and encourage you to dabble. This is going to be a practicum, after all. Through this practicum, I want you to extract wisdom from core practices in Thunder Rites and see if you can apply it in a way that empowers and augments your own spiritual path. And so if for some reason you encounter backlash for your dabbling, go ahead and throw me under the bus. Point me out and say, Benebell told me to do it.
Thunder Rites is a form of Taoist magic that became popularized during the Song Dynasty, which is about 960 AD to 1279 AD.
Actually, it started in the era preceding the Song Dynasty, a politically volatile and shaky period of Chinese history called the Five Dynasties and Ten Kingdoms, when China was politically a big hot mess politically, culturally, and in terms of the arts, the sciences, and especially occultism, sorcery, and alchemy. It was actually a flourishing time. You saw alliances being forged between warlords, kingdoms, and Taoist magicians. In other words, the warlords pitted the Taoist magicians against each other. So the conditions were ripe for a rather sophisticated and well thought out system of magic to arise, and that's Thunder Rites. How can we infer that? Well, the magical texts from that period of time focused heavily on rivalry magic and how to defeat your magical enemies, and also how to plant demons into your enemies' kingdoms, how to disable rival magicians, how to magically defend your territory from demon attacks. And that heavy emphasis suggests where these magicians' headspaces were at. Rivalry magic. Basically, Thunder Rites is the ultimate decisive craft used in medieval witch wars. And yes, there are a lot of crossovers between poison magic and Thunder Rites, or thunder magic, and we covered poison magic in a previous Tinkering Bell video.
Scholars are also pretty sure Thunder Rites was practiced way before these periods, all the way back to the Han Dynasty, between 200 BC and 200 AD. We've got records of shamans and magicians petitioning a thunder god, Lei Gong, and harnessing the powers of thunder in spellcrafting. Within Lei Fa, there are subsets of traditions. Lei Fa itself is not a tradition, it's just a modality of craft. It's a generic term. A solitary practitioner might cultivate his or her own processes in Thunder Rites. Then there are the historically documented traditions and lineages that practice a very proprietary form of Lei Fa. For instance, the school on Thunder Rites founded by Linling Su, who lived around 1076 to 1120 AD during the Northern Song Dynasty. He was a poor peasant whose claim to fame is the emperor put out a call for Taoist magicians to contribute to a national canon on Taoism, which, by the way, contrary to what Westerners might think, heavily emphasized occultism and ceremonial magic, not philosophy, and Linling Su distinguished himself with some, awesome magic sauce.
Another well-known school in Lei Fa is that founded by Wang Wenqing, who lived around 1093 to 1153 AD. If we oversimplify just for modern pagan sensibilities, Lin Ling Su was totally solitary, no lineage to speak of, poor as all heck, a peasant, no pedigree, just pure magical genius that the emperor himself recognized. Wang Wenqing, total opposite, a blue-blooded, high-born as far as magical lineage goes, high pedigree, trained by the best of the best, initiated by the best of the best, learned the best of the best, powerful backing of magical schools behind him. Wang Wenqing was also considered a scholar. He wrote extensively on Taoist magic, and his writing style was exemplary. Also, he had many other accomplishments outside of Thunder Rites. Both are equal in their incredible contributions to the body of work that became Thunder Rites. Both are highly venerated among practitioners of Thunder Rites, yet very different in terms of their characters and background. The legacy we get out of these two is diversity in how Thunder Rites is practiced. It's heavily tradition-based, all about who you trained under and your pedigree, and yet it's also solitary, a meritocracy, and based on pure talent, your individual hard work, and divine revelations you receive directly from your heavenly teacher. More on petitioning a heavenly teacher later.
At its core essence, Thunder Rites is about studying the science and natural phenomenon of thunder and all that encompasses thunder. Thunder is heaven's revelation of magic, and through understanding of that revelation, you can, and I'm totally not being hyperbolic here, conquer the world. Remember the political landscape that Thunder Rites arose from. Yeah, you can't escape that one of the tacit missions of cultivating thunder magic is, on some level, world domination, or in imperial China, to be that one warlord who conquers imperial China. So Lei Fa is about channeling the power of the gods, or to be a little more specific to Taoist terminology, commanding the powers of heaven and earth. See, there's that holy trinity, right, where heaven and earth come together to create man.
Sidebar, read the Tao of Craft for the metaphysical basics of Taoist magic. Fundamentally, Lei Fa is about man surpassing both heaven and earth, surpassing father and mother to become a true god. Fun, right? No, wait, maybe I should clarify before I get in trouble. Some say it's about raising yourself so you become one with the divine. Others say it's about jumping off the hamster wheel and truly gaining autonomy, becoming an independent divine being. Immortality. Again, religious concepts. So you do have to accept it within the context of religion. No one is calling this science. Thunder Rites during the Yuan dynasty was also kind of interesting. The Yuan dynasty spans from 1271 to 1368. For you Westerners, think Marco Polo, Dante's Inferno, the Templars, Holy Wars, and from 1346 to 1353, the Black Death. Now, over in the Far East, you've got Mongols ruling China.
The Mongol rulers were, as a general rule, kind of freaked out by Taoist sorcery, so officially they suppressed it, and yet historic records show that Taoist magic flourished during this time, so who the hell knows what that was all about. The Taoist sorcerers were definitely doing their craft on the down low. Now, let's see if I can summarize Thunder Rites cosmology, a subset of esoteric Taoist cosmology. Oh boy, guys, it's an entire body of knowledge that people devote their entire lifetimes to understand. Nevertheless, let's go.
The one, Lei Gong, the thunder god, or a heavenly celestial father, is the divine union. The binary is thunder and lightning, both which must be mastered through the practitioner's left and right hands. The trinity is the heaven, earth, and man that the practitioner will achieve jurisdiction over. The advancing echelons of mastery over Thunder Rites will include mastery of the 5 Thunder Lords, who serve the one Thunder God. 5 Thunder Lords corresponds with the 5 elements of Chinese metaphysics. The practitioner uses Jin, or lightning bolts, to unlock keys to the 8 trigrams, the Ba Gua building blocks of life. All of us as parts make up the whole, but each one of us is equal to the whole. So you, as just the tiny piece of the universe that you are nonetheless equal to the one, the thunder god. Thunder Rites is about harnessing the inner power of that thunder god, that channel of power called Jin, or the channel of thunder.
And that, my friends, in a nutshell, is a summary of Thunder Rites cosmology, the foundational principles of this very specific form of ceremonial craft. The goal of practicing Thunder Rites is to arrive at a profound understanding of heaven and earth, to acquire such heights of knowledge that you know how to control heaven and earth. To do that, you gotta meditate, and preferably in a cave or on top of a mountain.
Yeah, Asians, everything goes back to meditation. There are also proprietary Qi Gong methodologies for strengthening personal power that are often considered the trade secrets of specific traditions. So it's not like you're going to get your hands on those methodologies unless you get initiated into one of those traditions. But don't worry, I won't leave you hanging. I've got something for you to work on, so just keep watching.
A master practitioner of Thunder Rites is also an exorcist. You call upon the powers of thunder to Zhen, or to send a bolt, a shock, through the possessed body that will shock the demon out of that body. Thunder magic is also used for healing, though the mindset of the practitioner in this particular healing modality is a bit different. The best analogy I could come up with is like those electric shock heart pump things that the ER uses to get a heart beating again that you always see in movies. Yeah, I know, a lot of medical knowledge here. You can tell I'm an expert. Anyway, yeah, that. Thunder magic as a healing mechanism is about sending a shock of power into the afflicted to get the body doing its own thing again so it can help itself. The idea is you're sick or feeling awful because a part of your body is weaker than the thing attacking it. So you send a bolt or shock of power into that part of the body so it becomes stronger than the thing attacking it, thereby defeating the thing. In principle, that's how you heal with thunder magic.
One historically notable component to Thunder Rites is weather magic. There's a classical branch of shamanic practices within Thunder Rites that's all about making it rain. After all, much of China's regions were populated by agricultural societies, so weather magic, using modalities of inner alchemy or outer alchemy to control the weather, also falls within the scope of Thunder Rites. If you want to get into the technical aspects of the craft, the principle that most governs Thunder Rites is the principle of converging polarity. Okay, let me see if I can give you an example.
In Chinese feng shui, when you're designing a home, you want to avoid direct fire and water opposition because the two elements are considered clashing. In Thunder Rites or Lei Fa, a practitioner might go to great lengths to make sure there is fire and water opposition. In terms of Chinese elemental dignities, Thunder Rites is about intentional collision. You want opposites to collide. Using Western occult or esoteric terminology, you're using ill-dignified energy. You're relying on ill-dignified forces rather than elemental dignities. You do not want dignified energies. You want inharmonious, ill-dignified elementals. Again, the metaphysical principle is to produce a shock, a dissonance, and that shock is then used or controlled and regulated, channeled in a way toward a particular intention. So interestingly, the principle of converging polarity echoes of the science we now understand about thunderstorms. A thunderstorm is caused by the polarity of hot and cold converging and the collision between ice particles that then cause an electric or heated charge. Thunderstorms are the result of rising unstable air, and well before our ancient forefathers understood that science, Thunder Rites already called upon those polarity principles in magic. Cool. Now let's talk about Zhang Daoling, a celebrated Chinese Taoist sorcerer from the 1st century AD. Many traditions of Lei Fa claim heritage or inheritance of occult knowledge from Zhang Daoling, basically a Taoist sorcerer and alchemist who achieved such celebrity status for his craft that he became immortalized by most Taoist magicians. He's often petitioned in food talismans or sigil magic to help a Taoist out. So the mythology for many Lei Fa traditions is that they received divine knowledge of Thunder Rites from Zhang Daoling, who was the first to master the craft, allegedly. Thus, one espoused way to mastering Lei Fa is to petition Zhang Daoling and ask him to teach you, to impart revelations to you and guide you as a spirit mentor, a spirit guide. This is a form of outer alchemy. There's this tacit tradition of understanding part and parcel to Thunder Rites that you receive the esoteric knowledge of the craft through divine revelation. There's this notion that the practitioner petitions to higher divine powers of immortals of the craft to come down and teach you, to take you on as a disciple. And it's through a divine teacher mentor that you learn the craft. If you're ready and willing and totally serious about this, I'll give you access. Just go check out the companion written post for more information on just how to do this. There are 5 elements to Thunder Rites. First, recitations. These are mantras, sutras, or texts sacred to the tradition used to modify your personal vibrational frequency. So it's in resonance with this greater divine channel you'll be tapping into for Thunder Rites. Second, you've got sigil-crafting or Fu talismans. Fu talismans are used to petition the gods and spirit entities associated with the roster or lu of divinities that gift man with the blessings of Thunder Rites. Third, hand mudras, or contorting your hands and fingers into specific formations relating to Thunder Rites. Fourth, attunement to the thunder channel. This is hard to explain without sounding batshit crazy. Basically, an alternate reality has been created thanks to your thunder magic predecessors and the magi of yesteryear. And to be at your most powerful as a practitioner yourself, you want to get in on that action or attune to that channel of collective power forged by your Thunder Rites predecessors. Again, these things are supposed to take lifetimes to understand and master, and I'm whizzing through it in like 60 seconds in a YouTube video made out of PowerPoint slides. Finally, the backing of a spirit or deity associated with Thunder Rites. This is where you dedicate yourself as a disciple of one of the immortals or deities or spirits associated with Thunder Rites, like Zhang Daoling, the Thunder God, or Lei Gong. Which recitation a practitioner of Thunder Rites uses is going to depend entirely on tradition, lineage, and how that practitioner dials into that thunder channel. The recitation I'll be sharing just happens to be the one I was taught and that I practice with. And we're going to get Buddhist. I explain the background and history of Buddhist Taoist syncretism, especially in Chinese occult craft, in my book, The Tao of Craft. So I'll skip the explanation here and just let you know it's going to get Buddhist, Mahayana Buddhist. Vajrapani, a bodhisattva in the Mahayana Buddhist pantheon, is one such divinity certain Buddhist-leaning Chinese traditions of Thunder Rites practitioners would call upon. The direct translation of the Chinese is something to the effect of the righteous golden hand bodhisattva, but the righteous here has a certain connotation, as in the hand of justice sort of implication. The mantra of Vajrapani is Om Vajrapani Om Fat. You slightly emphasize the Om Vajrapani Om Fat. Om Vajrapani Om Fat. Even in Chinese, you'd utter the recitation not in a Chinese translation, but in Sanskrit or butchered Sanskrit. There's this belief that if you utter the mantra of Vajrapani 11,664 times, you'll achieve attunement to that thunder channel. That's a strangely specific number, you might be wondering. Well, it follows numerology, 108 times 108, and the 108 has a long history in Buddhism and Taoism. And also, mala prayer beads typically have 108 prayer beads. So this is just sort of a way to make it easy to keep count. Maybe, I don't know. I just learned the 108 by 108 attunement thing, so I'm passing it on. You know, the blind leading the blind here. Next, you've got the sigil. In Taoist spellcrafting, sigils or food talismans are everything. It's rare to find classical instructions for Taoist sorcery or esoteric Buddhist forms of magic that don't include sigils. What you see highlighted in yellow on the screen right now is one example of a sigil used in Thunder Rites found in a medieval Chinese grimoire. Again, further explanation, citations, and sources in my book, The Tao of Craft. The three circles at the top, connected by the two lines, represents the Holy Trinity. It's symbolic of connecting to the Big Dipper, a very important constellation to Taoist magic and sorcery, and specifically Alkaid, Mizar, and Aliyeth. Probably butchered the pronunciation, but the spelling is on your screen so you can follow along. Or the Sanxing, the three celestials, or three pure ones. The center version is a common call sign you see at the top of food talismans crafted for Thunder Rites. It can also be a standalone sigil. It features a stylized glyph for thunder and then below it a glyph for order or to manifest or to make happen. I don't know, hard to do a perfect translation. Basically, it's an affirmative symbol for creation and manifestation of thunder. Choose one of the two highlighted sigils to work with, whichever you're drawn to. They're basically the same thing, except the one on the right incorporates the Holy Trinity. Now on the screen, you're going to see an animated reference for the order of brush or pen strokes for rendering the Thunder Rites sigil. If you want to go hardcore and all in, then yeah, you gotta follow the order of pen strokes. It's a thing in the Chinese literary culture, and thus by extension, it's magical culture. That being said, I always say it's more about intention than logistics. So honestly, I would not worry about the order of strokes unless you're the type who wants to worry about the order of strokes. If you want to include the Holy Trinity, some do this first, the symbol or glyph for the Trinity, then proceed with the order of strokes I showed previously. Or they do it last. After rendering the thunder sigil, they go back up to the top and add it. Here's the order of strokes every time you render the Holy Trinity. First, the center circle, and directionality here is up to the practitioner. In many traditions, you go clockwise for creation or to be yang charged, counterclockwise for destruction or to be yin charged. Then the left circle, then the right circle, then connect the dots, left to right. You'll often find this symbol with the three circles on food talismans. It symbolizes the collective power of the Trinity. In Chinese folk magic, that's the three pure ones. Sometimes, instead of the circles, you'll see three check marks at the top of the food talismans. The four red sigils you see on the screen there, by the way, date back to medieval Chinese grimoires. Here's the completed sigil. All the minutiae of Chinese sigil crafting will be found, again, shameless promotion, my book, The Tao of Craft. But what we're covering in this video is good enough for the purposes of our novice practicum. Also, in traditional craft, a practitioner is going to stamp his or her seal onto the completed sigil, something like what you see on screen, and using red vermilion paste. Photos in black and white, because I took them from my book. Let's talk about hand mudras. In the classic 13 principles of Taoist craft, one of the core principles governing craft is that all manifestations in the universe can be generated through your hand. Hand mudras change, regulate, and synthesize your personal life force, or qi, with the collective universal life force, or divinity, the divine life force you're calling upon. So that's why in esoteric Taoism, hand mudras are often incorporated into craft. The exact hand mudra used in Thunder Rites is not universal. Established lineages are going to have secret hand mudras, so you wouldn't be privy to that information anyway. But I won't leave you hanging. Here's one I can show you, since it's not only public domain, but now embedded into the public cultural consciousness, given how old it is. The Mudra is believed to bridge that connection between your personal life force and the divine pillar that is the thunder channel. You may also notice that the formation kind of, sort of, not really, resembles the Vajra or Ting. It's called the Jingguang hand mudra, or man, translations are kind of hard. Golden halo, illuminated force of metal. Okay, you are just going to have to trust me on this one. It sounds really cool and badass in Mandarin Chinese, but in English, kind of just sounds goofy. It really didn't translate very well. Furthermore, a quick scan of search engines for the keywords Jingguang Shouying reveals that if the internet has anything to say about it, there are sure a lot of different methodologies to Thunder Rites hand mudras. So here's the one thing I think is probably the most popular one for Lei Fa, because it's just the one most frequently cited. The collective metaphysical belief is that this hand mudra regulates your personal qi in a way that attunes it to a pillar of divine power. That is the channel Lei Fa practitioners draw from. This is not the one I personally use, by the way. Instead, I'm showing you what's in the public domain, or what has already been made available and accessible to the public consciousness. So just want to note here that there is a differentiation between what's publicly accessible and what's proprietary within certain esoteric teachings. Okay, so Jingguang hand mudra. Start with both palms pressed together, fingers spread out as you see on the screen. That's a side view of what your hands should look like. Now fold your ring fingers in as shown. Then curl in your index fingers. Now your hands are clasped through the index and ring fingers curled over, and your thumb, middle, and small fingers are directed outward. The hand mudra kind of resembles a trident and should call to mind the Vajra. It's used in inner alchemical practices like meditation, where you direct the trident upward close to your chest while repeating recitations of the Vajrapani mantra. It's also used in Taoist sorcery for channeling the attuned powers of Lei Fa through you out the practitioner's hand, and used to fuel your intended craft or outer alchemical practices. The fourth principle sounds really goofy. I know it may take a leap of faith. The whole premise of Thunder Rites is this modality or tradition of craft attunes you to the pillar of divine power that's out there in the universe, which can manifest physically in our earthly world as thunder and lightning, but is an eternally present power that a seasoned practitioner can tap into. It's the manifestation or emanation of Vajrapani, or however you personify the thunder god. Now, kind of a sidebar here. In traditions of thunder magic, there are a few iconic protection symbols beyond the food talismans associated with the craft. One commonly found is this, which Western occult practitioners or chaos magicians might recognize. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Another one you will find is a rendering of the Buddhist Dharma wheel. Again, some of the heritage for these symbols is the long history of syncretism between Taoism and Buddhism in China. Another traditional symbol and also ritual tool associated with Thunder Rites is the Vajra, or a thunderbolt, often made out of a metal. Charms and amulets of the Vajra are often worn for protection. So attunement with this thunder channel, this pillar of divine power manifested through using Mahayana Buddhist terminology, Vajrapani, or in Chinese folk religion, Lei Gong, is achieved through established methodologies of cultivation, and that's the part that takes initiation, dedication, devotion, and some say a lifetime to perfect. The final principle envelops the other core principles of the craft, because within the religious framework, there is a presumption that you can't do any of this without this fifth and final point. having an alliance with a deity or spirit entity associated with Thunder Rites. There are well-known established orthodox traditions of thunder magic that work exclusively with Zhang Daoling, believed to now be immortalized. The religious premise is that he's a powerful gatekeeper, and by calling upon him to become your teacher, your spirit guide, he'll channel to you everything you need to know to be as powerful as him in this mode of craft. When Mahayana Buddhism is syncretized with Taoist occultism, you get traditions that call upon the Vajrapani. The Vajra is one of the sacred symbols of alliance. In folk Chinese lore, there's the thunder god, Lei Gong, where again the Vajra is sacred and represented in Sigil-Crafting, Ting, or Lei Gong's thunderbolt. Here's the practicum component for this Tinkering Bell installment. I'll show you a couple of crafty techniques that I'd like you to first try isolated exactly as I'm instructing. And then once you've got a handle on it, go crazy, change it up, and experiment by integrating it into your current practice to test out whether integrating pieces of Lei Fa will strengthen your craft. There are 2 exercises you will fold into your daily routine for a consecutive 8 days. First, directing the hand mudra inward while reciting the Vajrapani mantra for 5 minutes. Yeah, just 5 minutes of meditation per day for 8 consecutive days. That's a very, very rough equivalent to 108 recitations. Or you can do a guided recitation with me. An unlisted direct link to just such a video is provided, so be sure to check it out. You can access that guided recitation video totally free, download it and keep a copy, and work with it daily until you're comfortable enough doing it on your own without me. The video is just a little over 6 minutes long, exactly 108 recitations, so you can do this. And hey, if you watch the video 108 times, allegedly, you'll have achieved a bona fide connection to that pillar of occult power. Give me 6 minutes and 7 seconds of your day for 8 days, and really, come on, it's not for me, it's for you. We're all doing this for you. Hope you know that. Second, directing the hand mudra outward into a Lei Fa food talisman, you're going to craft a metaphysical battery pack. Hey guys, this is a religious science, not real science, so chill out. Anyway, metaphysical battery pack. You're going to make that paper talisman on day 1, and then for the 8 days after initial inner cultivation, direct your hand outward, pointing to the physical talisman you've made. And okay, this is super graphic and crass and very, very unladylike, but it is by far the best explanation I can think of, so just bear with me here. After the 5 minutes of mantra recitation, or 108 recitations, direct your hand outward, point at the physical talisman you've made, and feel the pressure in your belly like you're taking a big fat dump, except push through your hands and fingertips instead of, out the other end. Just push out all of that force out your hand with as much energy and effort as you can. Again, like taking a dump, but put it out of your hands. Pull it out of your hands and into the talisman. I know, totally unromantic and ineloquent. If someone can come up with a better explanation for this technique, by all means, let me know. Until then, taking a dump out your fingertips. The intention here is to attune to that thunder channel through the mantra recitation. And here we're going to use the Mahayana Buddhist vocabulary of the Vajrapani Bodhisattva and draw into you from that divine pillar some of that occult power, which is Thunder Rites 101. You're crafting a talismanic sigil emblematic of the Vajra, and though you're going to direct most of that power you've harvested into your talisman, in doing so, a residual amount lingers behind, empowering you personally. So it's kind of like an esoteric win-win. You're going to repeat these exercises again for a consecutive total of 8 days. Yes, give me 8 days. Each day committing to 5 minutes of mantra recitation, or 6 minutes and 7 seconds to be exact, with the Jingguang hand mudra directed toward personal attunement. 5 minutes or 6 minutes and 7 seconds if you're watching my video. That's it. I even, again, have that guided video of the meditation that you can run and follow along with daily. Then, once you've done that, you direct the hand mudra outward at your talisman and push all that harvested power into your Fu talisman. You'll do that 8 times for the 8 consecutive days, and on the morning of the 9th day, you'll have a charged and powered battery pack. Then, in your mind, on the morning of the 9th day, I hope you're taking notes here. First thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, take the talisman in your 2 palms and with your mind, mentally, psychically attach a singular intention to that talisman. Maybe it's God help me finish my stupid fucking novel. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry, not at all projecting. Or maybe you want to attach an intention to increase financial gains into your life, increase success in your business, improvement in your physical health, physical healing, emotional healing. But be specific. I mean, all elements and guidelines to basic spell crafting still apply here. Attach that intention to this battery pack and then just position it somewhere strategic. Tuck it into a wallet, a handbag, or place it somewhere in your home or in a desk drawer at the office, somewhere that makes sense to you. And that's it. Then off you go. See what happens. Very important. In about a month, take some time to sit down and with pen and paper to give yourself feedback. Personally, I will take notes daily, actually, for observation and analytical purposes, but definitely in a month's time, you need to sit down and reflect, scrutinize, reflect on the efficacy of your craft, journal and document the experimentation. Here's my philosophy. If something I try did not work the first time around, I do it again. I will try it at least 3 times and document and reflect and analyze all 3 trials before I give up and say, no, that wasn't for me. For me personally, that dedication has made all the difference. Really incredible things can happen between the first trial and the third. If you've only done it once, then I don't think you've earned the right to say it's bullshit. If you found this basic entry-level exercise to be productive for you, then be sure to check out the companion written blog post for further instructions, specifically to petition Zhang Daoling to become your spirit teacher and guide in further development and advancement of your craft.
Ultimately, don't think of Thunder Rites as a spell. Instead, it's a way of cultivating personal power so that your spells are more effective. Basically, Thunder Rites is a form of Reiki. Thunder, or Zhen, represents an occult channel of power that the practitioner of Thunder Rites can dial into. It's an ever-present, timeless stream of power that has nothing to do with you, but you can gain access to through certain inner and outer alchemical practices. Once you've gained access to that channel of thunder power, you can use it in all manner of craft. Fu talismans and thunder magic is all about dialing into that channel or stream of power. Attunement to the thunder god, or using some vocabulary term of the thunder god in a particular pantheon or culture, is about attunement to that channel of power. Here's my proposition to you. Try both the inner and outer alchemical practices we've covered. I've curated this practicum and considered appropriate safeguard measures for the novice Thunder Rites practitioner to try this. And hey, if you're coming into this with a really strong, advanced background in another magical tradition, then this is going to be fun for you.
Can you piecemeal ideas or cut and paste bits from Chinese thunder magic with other traditions, other pantheons? I mean, thunder god, gee, no other culture has a version of a thunder god. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I would kind of be disappointed in you if you didn't. Supercilious tone and trite yet serious debates about cultural appropriation totally aside, I'm inviting you to piecemeal from what I've shared here to curate a blended practice and uniquely developed technique that will work for you. The whole point of the Tinkering Bell series is not to teach you my way, it's to improve your way. Commercial
commercial time. Take an intensive online course with me in which we'll talk history of tarot and Western occultism, tarot and modern witchcraft, and go through a series of guided ritualized tarot readings. This course is packed and loaded in every sense. Give me your dedication and time, and in return, I will break down barriers of entry for you and show you how you can gain better control and understanding over your own capabilities. Sign up for the course today. Links to enrollment in the description box, or go to the Tarot Readers Academy page for more information.